I can't. Whoa, 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 whoa. I'm Rod Duff, your host.
And I'm producer Barbie.
And together,
we bring you our podcast,
Insights and Straight Talk. And with that, producer Barbie and I are out. Doesn't that just put you in a vibe? That little kind of throws you into this room, to this episode. I'm keeping that unless anybody gets tired of it, because it's totally unrelated. I used to like to say, well, that's Barbie and I going down PCH. We love that day. I just picked up the image, but it's a cool vibe, huh? Anyway, more importantly, we have another show. I didn't tell you this, Kayshree, that I got this shirt here. So, right. So repeat, right? Sleep podcast. All right. One of my sons sent that to me, and so at least today I got to show it off as much as I can. Very cool thing. It's neat when people find out a thing that affects you, and it's good to see family continue to grow together and remember messages that have an effect. So, I'm really excited about the show. This thing, we were talking in the green room earlier, the green room where she is right now. Someday I'll actually maybe have one. See, I said that, and now the only person there dropped off. See, I got to get you on pretty quick, because we don't want people staying away because they're tired of hearing this old man chat away. But anyway, so at the end of the day, we've had some really, really great shows. I think I threatened that person. They jumped back on. I think they got scared. I got some control still. So at the end of the day, we had a great show this morning. Tomorrow we have the vets organization, which my personal relationship with the military and all that. I wasn't in the military, so don't. But there's a lot of personal thing in there, and I know what the issues are inside. And so we get a really neat discussion with that subject tomorrow. And then we're so full. I mean, we've got the AI class coming out. I think you guys saw that on some of the LinkedIn stuff. Hey guys, thanks for jumping in. Your timing's perfect, because I'm wrapping up. Excuse me about that. I'm wrapping up, and you're going to talk to somebody who actually knows what she's talking about. And by the way, as you know, this show has a great message, which I love. Everybody loves. It's about kids. It's about empowering kids. We're about empowering the middle class. Kids are the next generation of the middle class. Kind of dials in there, right? Sorry, I'm really still pumped from the earlier show. I gotta calm down. I gotta get Kaylee in here I'm sorry. Hey, you know what? I asked you to say it 3 or 4 times, and now I'm getting lazy. I'm just gonna say this wonderful person here has a program, and it was originally tested in her home country of South Africa, and like you guys all know, I love awesome names. I'm terrible at saying them, but my name, Rod Duff, has always attracted me to what people's names look like. I just an inside thing here. I shouldn't say this, but if you look at my name, Rod Duff, it's like Dick Butt. My father's name was Richard Duff. So I think there's this family like thing going on where we're messing with each other with these name things. So I love names. There we go. I love accents, as you know, because I talk a lot. And so without further ado, let's talk about kids, empowering them to be kidpreneurs which is a freaking awesome name. And I hope I'm pronouncing that exactly perfectly, because that'll be one of the only things I do. And what we're doing here in this show is talking about today, kids start, I think it was like in the 8-ish area, or maybe I'm mixing up with the earlier, but bringing kids more self-confidence, more by creating entrepreneurs, by creating people who entrepreneurs to me are a level above, whether you're educated or not, a level above a bachelor of science, any degreed person. That's an important thing. But when you're an entrepreneur, you may or may not be as educated, but what you are is creative. Got lazy on that one, sorry. Creative. When you're creative, you're solving problems. You see something that needs to be something improved or whatever, and now she is creating her organization. Started in South Africa, test trials, and now it's gone global. She's got a platform. We were just talking about it, and I think I did at least I made up on the introduction. Kayshree.
Correct.
Yeah, I was so nervous back there because I needed this energy. What you're doing is fantastic because, like I said, the next generation is who? Kids. So you're bringing kids in to gain more self-confidence, to gain, that inner knowledge of yourself early on. And I always talk about in the school system, we don't really, at least here in America, Europe's better than us by far, not for the political reasons that are going around, but we drive kids along this boop, 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 get them through, get them educated, and then they go figure out what the hell they're going to do, which is our way. And, we've had pretty good success at it, but imagine if we had a program that started kids along this path. It's got to be fun, obviously, but now it's going global. I'm tired. Take it over and tell these people what actually is going on, because it's freaking cool.
Well, you did an amazing job. So just a correction there. It's going global. It's already global. So it's amazing.
No, I meant that. Yeah, no, I didn't mean it just started, because you did a test in South Africa, and obviously it went well. And then you're now global. Okay. All right, I screwed up. You're now global through that program. So let's hear more of your voice. I'll back out. I got a couple of things to look at over here. I already warned you.
So I'm Kayshree, and I'm the founder of Dreamers and Founders. It's a global movement where we teach kids how to build real businesses. We teach them confidence. We teach them how to be street smart. We teach them all the tools that they need to actually function in life, in their personal capacity, within schools. And more importantly, we teach them how to be resilient. We teach them how to have and build their own business. So it's not like your fluffy program where it's just theory thrown at kids. We actually give them real practical tools to go and open the business. So we're hosting a masterclass on the 26th of June.
Stop right there. Hold on. Sorry. I do this. It's one of the problems with being in my company. I'm off kilter sometimes. What does that look like? What you just described? I know you're having a talk coming up, and let's get into that. But let's stay on that previous moment. And what does that look like?
So we take kids, and it's more.
You're building a business. So what? I mean, is it like a classroom thing? How does that work? Sorry, I didn't really give you a good question there. You know what I mean, though? Yeah. What does that look like? How does that, when you're watching that, what does that look like?
Yeah. So we have an online platform whereby we give children a class or a lesson, but it's very practical.
Starting at?
From ages 8 to 18.
I was right about that one too.
Well,
Okay. Hey, that's
yeah.
2 out of 3 at least. Go ahead.
So we really believe that children are automatically born with entrepreneurial skills. They're very curious. They are, they know how to sell. They can sell you anything to get whatever they
Oh,
want.
oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's such a great point. Go ahead. Yes,
So
I know. And then
all
we
we
lose
do,
it.
yes. And all we do is ignite
Yeah.
that spark. We fuel it in the right direction. And all they need is just a bit of, or the correct support structure.
Okay. So
So,
what does
yeah.
that look like? What does that look like now? Let's dig a little deeper. I like to kind of get down. So so this is a starting at the 8-ish area, if that's where, well, wherever they're starting, as they're starting, you're coming into this program. And I know we're going to get deeper into this later. And we're starting to get a lot of questions here, but I'm trying to get a base here. It's like I always say, I'm the safety net in our family here, because if I get it, anybody's going to be able to get it. Anybody. So I like to ask a lot of questions, and I don't mean to break anything. By the way, that is a hell of a good mic. Hold on, let me change the. When I did that, I went, wow, that's sexy, man. That thing is cool. I
It's
love it.
amazing.
And it is. It's really cool. I mean, look, again, names, mics. Yeah. So I'm just saying. I got a couple of them. I've got some really neat lighting in there, but I love that mic. I'm into that stuff now, unfortunately. Stuff I've never been into, man. But it's fun. This is a fun thing. So did you finish your thought? Did I cut you off, or were we moving into how to start turning a kid? I know I wanted to see what that looked like a little deeper. Is this going to help us get there? Because
Yes.
I really want to know, you know what I mean, right?
Yes.
I really want to beat that base. I'm not smart enough yet. I'm there. I get it, but what? Okay, I get it.
Got
Please.
it. So the question is, when you were 15, what would you have done differently in your life to now? If you had some guidance or some entrepreneurship program
Everything.
or a coach or anything,
Everything.
everything.
Every single thing. I could have used that back then. That's a critical time. And I know you say from 8 up, and that's an interesting, prep thing looking at. But at 15, it's funny you brought that up, because a lot of the show talks about different things. And well, you said you've seen a lot of them, so you probably know what I'm referring to in different things. At that critical age, to have that gift is next level, because that is where your parents have brought you to. Your hormones are kicking ass and being weird. And this program kind of sets that trail, right? I mean, is that the reason you start? I mean, or am I just
No,
fucking around
that's
here?
spot on. So why we say from 8
Say
years
that again.
old, it's spot on.
Thank you.
So the
I
reason
use
why
these things for clips. But by the way, I'm setting you up a little bit here, because we do a lot of social media. So every once in a while, I may ask you to do that, because that was a perfect. Go ahead.
So, as I was saying, the reason why we start from age 8 is we groom them in to get the mindset right,
Gotcha.
to get them into the whole working environment, and to understand what's entrepreneurship about, how to think further than just a Roblox game or a PlayStation or an iPad sitting there, TikToking or on YouTube. So the whole point is to just let their imagination run wild, bring out the creativity, and ensure that, it's just shifted into the right direction to mold them and to bring them to excellence. So that's very important.
That's an excellent point. And you know what I was thinking about? I want to look at your mic some more. What I was thinking about when you were saying that is, that's interesting, because first of all, I think starting that young is probably easier now than in the old days, because the ability to be an entrepreneur, it was different. The setup, the society, it was mechanical. It was, it was beyond, I think. Now I know you're just building into them, but now what's going to be interesting, if you did this 20 years ago, maybe you started 20 years ago, I don't know. No way. You're
not quite like that old. Come on.
No. I was going to say, there's no way you did. You probably were just born or not quite born yet, or
Wow.
whatever. But so I like to use examples, and sometimes I forget things. And so now in today's society, and AI coming on, and kids being born with phones in their hand, it's going to be interesting what the entrepreneurship. One, it's more attainable to that set of mind earlier because they know it to a degree, right? They're living in it. But beyond that, the interesting thing to me is what kind of businesses are the entrepreneurs going to start developing, say at 15 or wherever that comes along in their pace. I assume everybody's got a little different pace, right? If you're all starting at 8. So what's interesting is what kind of businesses, because you know what? That's going to be that's where it all comes from. I mean, there's not a machine pumping out ideas. It's these guys, man. That's freaking cool.
And the very important point here is we teach them how to see what problems are out there. So from the smallest one, we like, okay, go into the school, look into your community. What problem can you solve? And we're starting to teach them how to do, critical thinking, how to change and actually find a solution. Because I really believe that children, more importantly, today need that, because you get into a world where people want to be entrepreneurship or an entrepreneur, but are not prepared to just go and look for actual solutions. They are there and they just want to copy or replicate what somebody else is doing, and that's it. So we've got to bring in a generation where they could think for themselves, and they're starting to think very at an early age, because this builds that momentum. And in terms of your brain capacity to understand, and for you to just sort of lay down and unpack those problems with a solution attached to it.
Oh my God, I'm so glad I asked you I said what I said before. I exposed myself, I know, but that makes a hell of a lot of sense. I wasn't even going there on the earlier when we were starting into this. I'm so glad you went deeper on that, because that's again, you're building yourself from within, then at a much higher level than you would have been. No matter how perfect your parents are, and that's not always the case, or your surroundings are, and that's not always the case, but you have this on top of every other. We talk about having tools, and depending on where you're coming from. I had a great talk with a guy a little while ago. It was about AI, but it went back to his time in what he called, this is his words, the hood. And we all know what that means, because I grew up in the 60s. There was different society importance or focuses. So whatever your gifts that you're bringing, to then pack this into that, to color between the layers, I like to say, is phenomenal. Imagine growing up with the most awesome background, no tragedies, no stuff. How are we doing on time? Yeah, I'm talking too much. We got a lot going on over here. But imagine that being added to all of that, what that next generation is going to be for all the next world. And what the hell, throw AI into it. Whoa, there's some stuff, right?
Yeah. So one of the things we also teach is you don't have to come from wealth, but we now build them to create and be the first person in their family to create wealth and a legacy for their futures to come. So that is why it's so important to get in while they're still young, while their brain is so fresh, energetic, and
Sponge.
ready just to sponge. Yes.
Was I reading your mind there, or did we
Yeah.
just came up with the same word at the same time? Because it's so true. I mean, that's the beauty of children, curiosity. I'm a really curious person. I know I'm also childish, so that kind of maybe works a little bit in common, but we lose that curiosity, and we lose that sponge. And the more we learn. So, here's a concept. I didn't even think about this before. Check this out. You already know this. You're teaching me as I'm going along. The interesting thing is you now are creating. You talk about the synapses in the brain. I almost lost a thought there, man. That was going to be embarrassing. And every new thing you learn, your brain becomes healthier and healthier. And they say 8-10% we use, or less than that we use. Irrelevant of that. The healthier your brain, the more you know, the better your base is for knowing more. More curiosity creates more curiosity. And if you're keeping that curiosity at that age and adding these skill sets, that's not only a societal shift, that's a freaking mental shift for a generation. Oh my God, you blew my mind right now. I just figured out what you're talking about. Well, some of it. And people, I mean, I've been really excited about this on such a shallow level. I saw your reaction when I said blowing your mind. Please, let's keep digging here, because this is phenomenal. I mean, I thought it was awesome. Now it's phenomenal. Let's see where else we can go.
So we don't only just do, just build a business for a kid. No.
Right.
We've got proper support structure in where it's the parents and the child. So it's mindsets for the parents to shift from, you know what?
Yeah, that makes sense.
We didn't grow up in money. Money's bad for you. It's to change that shift. Because that is the biggest thing that, the kids come in there, and it's more like the parents are like, no, don't fill my child with all of these positive thoughts and
false hopes and dreams.
Yes. And so
I get it.
I think for the beauty for us, we're not here trying to just sell you, watch a program and everything's done. We're here to build your child as well as the family. We've got a group of psychologists, children psychologists, parents for parent relationships. So that in itself is super amazing, and it's 10 times.
Hold on. So you only have limited abilities to support your message, just very tiny, limited facilities. Is that what you're telling me?
No, not at all.
I just want to emphasize that, because we're getting more and more here. By the way, at some point, let me know when I can do this, because we have like 20, several clicks of the mouse. We have like 20 messages I got to get at least. I keep stealing your time because it's so fascinating. I keep taking you here.
Go ahead.
It's great, but they're gonna get pissed at me pretty soon. Are we where we want to be in this part of your message? Because we got a long way to go to talk about it. You good? Can I give up my show, my time of my show, and give it back to the audience so they can actually ask you smart questions? All right, thank you. I appreciate it. I don't want to. I guarantee you down the road it's going to say somewhere, "Hey, are we going to get to ask any questions here?" So, Jack, this is an awesome question. I've been looking at it for 4 or 5 minutes now, at least, huh? What's the first step in turning a kid into a young entrepreneur? And the reason I want to get on this is because we're already getting, these I want to stay on track of where you're going. We're kind of following where we've talked. Can you fill it in at least a little bit for Jack? Color in between the layers?
Well, Jack, I think the first thing for us is to get your child's mindset correct. Because if you can believe in him and he or she could believe in themselves, that is the first point. And encourage different thinks, see what the child, gravitates towards, what they like in terms of a
Be
hobby.
observant.
Correct.
Be observant.
And most
don't
important,
just parent. No, it's the other way around. Don't just be a parent. I can't remember the saying. I was going to say something really good, because that's what most people give birth and raise a child. Cool.
Yeah.
But when you're parenting a child, that's what you're talking about right now. You teach people to be parenting a child. That's critical.
correct.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's fine. So number one would be build that confidence, see what they like, what they're into, encourage different things. Because that's the only way a child will really know what they really are, finding their feet in, and encourage problem solving. For example, if you're in the garden, and don't be afraid of the age. Children are resilient in the fact that they want more opportunities to do tasks by themselves. I think we as parents are shielding them to say, okay, you know what, you may be 8 years old, or you can't wash a dish, or something. No, give them the opportunity and allow them to do it. Take away the iPad, take away any devices, and they need to do a chore, an activity outside of their normal daily routine. That would also strike.
I'm sorry. I'm going to lose this thought if I let you go on, because you mean actually parent the children. You mean actually develop something like that never happens anymore, and is starting to wake up to the problems that we have, at least in high percentages. The kids first start out with all, what do they call them? Participation trophies. That was kind of a joke for a while, and it had some legs. And then parents ended up going all the way to the point of, I'll do everything for you. You're the most perfect child in the world. You're going to grow up. And I know where it came from, because the previous generation grew up, our generation, the opposite. Yeah, you're never going to, what you said, don't give it was a lot more widespread, what you talked about earlier about the parents coming in and saying, don't fill their head with these. We all grew up, baby boomers. You probably don't even know what that name means.
I know.
But the baby boomers grew up, and it ended up okay to a degree, except for a lot of mental health and a lot of shit, in baggage. But now you're talking about something completely opposite of that. And that's where we're starting. And it just I told you I wasn't going to steal any more. All right, I'll shut up. What age do kids usually show leadership?
I think from 6. Yeah, so we've seen kids from 6 years old. So the only reason we are not putting the cause at 6 is because 6-year-olds, depending on how they're brought up in the home environment, they become very, agitated, and it's not very focused. So we've started at 8, but remember, we start even with parents and say to them, when the child is already by 3 years old, they can do chores, they can, take instruction, and they can take instruction and execute it very well. So it's depending on the parent to allow that child the space to grow and to do that, because that is very important.
That's hard. And hard.
If you think that, by you telling your child not to do these activities, you are, the best parent ever. But in fact, you are actually, putting your child in a negative space, because you're hindering their growth. You're hindering them to actually build something of their own life, because when a real problem comes up, they know mom and dad is just going to be there to fall back on. So you're not.
Well, they don't have to experience it. It's like a muscle. You got to use it, right?
Correct.
We don't give them the opportunity to use it, because we're helicopter mom, but it's everybody now. It's crazy. Go ahead. Sorry.
So that's one of the key things. And we start the moment they're in the program. It's one of the very few things that we like, guys, this is what you need to do. And the kids are amazed. That first 2 days, they're like, oh no, I don't want to do this. When they come back, they actually enjoy a chore. They enjoy the
Yeah.
result of the chore.
Pride.
Correct.
Pride. Yeah. Self-worth.
Yeah. And that's like
Wow.
amazing because now they've started to believe in themselves. They know they can do something. And when a child achieves something, it's like a can, when they go into the candy shop and they bought their first candy, it's the sugar rush without the crash. That's what it is. Yeah.
Oh, well put. My God. And they were always grown up, not experiencing necessarily achievement. It was always cheapened. Now you're giving them the tools to actually have pride, because everybody knows when you do so, especially like you said, when you're young, man, it's the best. What kind of businesses have you? Oh, yeah. We talked about this a little bit earlier. Sorry, I didn't read it. Chris, great question, because I'm curious about how that's evolving or will evolve, or whatever the right question is.
Sorry, what did he ask?
Oh, I'm sorry. What kind of businesses have your youngest students started? Remember, I was asking, I wonder how the businesses are different today than 20 years ago. But your youngest students, I'm assuming, start pre-15 or
So my 6-year-old started with a cookie business.
Oh, that's
amazing. It's still going.
Cheating. That's cheating. He's around you 24/7. You
No. So that's
awesome.
That's how Dreamers and Founders actually started. My son was glued to the iPad, and I was at a time of my life where I hit rock bottom. I was going through a messy divorce. I lost my mom.
I'm sorry.
And it was, as a parent, I mean, when you slept with this, you don't know whether you're coming or going. And now for you just to stop, pause, and say, okay, let me put my life on hold because my child now needs a game. And it was at a point where I just said, you know what, I actually, I would love to give you the game, but I don't have the money to go and get it for you. However, because of my previous experience and my previous working career, I've had businesses before. I've been 15 years as a financial advisor, and anybody knows a financial advisor and the lapses are insane. So if you don't have the courage and the self-motivation just to pick yourself up and say, listen, I'm gonna get out of this, it's gonna be tough for anyone. And in that moment, I sat with my son and I showed him, because at that point he loved being in the kitchen, he loved baking, he loved cooking. So that's
observant. You are observant as well.
Right.
You've hit a couple of things there. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, but he's not our youngest student. Our youngest, started at 4.5 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that his younger brother or sister?
No family.
They're always more aggressive. I want to talk about that later. But okay, 4.5 years old,
and she started with a little bouncy ball, and it turned into a puppet, like they sewed like a little material thing over the bouncy ball.
So to create the sort of head, or you could bounce it or whatever. Oh, gotcha. Like imagine a sock kind of thing, or something better, but
yeah. So she liked playing with this toy, and the mom was like, you know what, I don't know what I'm going to do. This is what we did. So, and she was not part of our program. Her brother was part of the program. So she just came in.
That's what I was going to say earlier. Go ahead.
And she was so curious, and she was so, and that this is where we're saying, especially when there are more kids in the house, it's very important that even if one child is enrolled, they sort of encourage the other ones. And kids are resilient in the fact that when they have competition, it is absolutely amazing, because now in the house, they want to know, why is my brother doing that and I'm not doing this? Okay, I want to be better than that. I want to come up with something. And it's so nice because the challenge between them is
Competition.
so good for them. It is
100%.
really good.
You know,
So
I
yeah.
was good. You said remember I said, I want to come back to that a little bit ago. And it was something about a older and younger and so forth. And when you said the 4.5-year-old, I said, is that a younger brother or sister? And you said, no. But what you just said, because this is not only affecting the person or child, right? But siblings have a rivalry. You always see that the youngest, especially if the interests are common, and there's more that there are of, the youngest is always the badass, the smartest, or the toughest, or the most talented. You always see that coming through because they've always competed at their older brother or sister or brother's level, not successfully, but they're pushing there, so there becomes easier. And so when you said 4.5, I knew it had to be a younger sibling. That was a cool example. I think we've already kind of established that you can. I mean, this is a platform globally. We've established that globally, not going global. It is already global, right?
Correct.
So I made it up a couple of times there. But at the end of the day, whether you're homeschool or a traditional brick school, whatever schools are called today, that's a system you can be a part of, grab a hold of. Say it better than I did, please.
So with us, what we say is, especially now with the school holidays coming up, it's the best time to get the kids, because, a lot of parents are worried during school time, when does my child actually do this? And during school holidays, it's the best time. Bring them along. We've got a free masterclass. Let them come and experience everything. Let them go home, because it is not just a masterclass where they're just listening to things. I'm a very practical person, and I'm a person that you've got to leave there with actually building something. You're not coming there and you're just going to take notes and go home and be like, that was the worst thing ever. So if that's what you're looking for, then this isn't for you. But if you are ready to build with your child and to make sure that you see your child happy and confident and excited about life again, because beyond a tablet or a PlayStation game or whatever it is, it's the realness.
Did I talk to you about, before we get into this, I want to get into a couple of things here, if you don't mind. Am I good? Any point that I chopped off there at the knees? Did I talk to you about the youngest boy that I raised? The youngest son?
No.
All right. So he's got a whole life and all that. That's good. He's awesome. He's in the military. That's what he always wanted to be. But I'm going to ask you about your parents you're raising.
Yeah.
And I think you know why, I'm guessing. I don't know. I want to know where this comes from, because it's awesome. Who you are and who you are is what made this happen, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, there's no argument there. So where does that come from? I want to get on that for a second. But you were talking about people interacting and becoming better socially and so forth. I don't think it cut me off if I did. I think it was the last show. But I was in the kitchen one day and the boys, this son and the other kids, his friends, I think there was a girlfriend, and they were like juniors in high school area. And I went in the kitchen, the kitchen and then the living room, TV and the couch. And there's like 4 of them sitting along this couch doing this with it like a baseball game going on. And I watched it for a little while and I went, and then finally I couldn't resist. I said, hey, okay, his name's Matt. Hey, Matt, what's happening here, man? you guys are right here. There's a game going on. You're right here. Why aren't you talking to each other? And they're still doing it. And Matt looks over. He goes, oh, we are.
Texting each other.
That's how they talk. That was that was what he's in. I mean, that had to be almost 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my first experience of what you just said. They're freaking sitting there. They're talking to each other.
So we say, sorry.
Hold on. Go on with that, but then go right into your background. I hope I'm not digging up anything because I kind of saw you hesitate. Okay, good. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so we say if your child is, for example, doing 4 or 5 hours a day on a screen, why not take 1 hour to build a business that's going to pay for every new game that they want, their clothes? Hey, what if that business pays for their school fees, their tuition for after school? Give them the right tools to get what they need in life. They don't need to be dependent on a parent, especially in today's day and age. There is so much that they can do to build their own money. It's not just about, oh, mom, I need pocket money, I need lunch money, I need. Here we're equipping them so that they become independent to say, look, mom, I've brought you something for a change. And that is absolutely amazing. Yeah. And then in terms of where I grew up. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, where you grew up. Sorry, I jumped back on because I'm sending you a text. I want you to, after you're done with this, from what you just said, I wanted to do a text so I didn't forget it. But, and you caught me. And you went, I was just hoping you roll. I was trying to get some time out of you. Sorry that. But remind me about Brandon. I'll still send the comment, but remind me about Brandon and the story about what you just talked about. Also in high school, back at his time, he's 39 now, long time ago in high school, right? But remind me of that. Go on. I don't want, where you grew up, but I also want to know where the foundation you have, because it's not normal. You're not freaking normal. I mean, you're just not. You got a great voice. You got a cool name.
Wow.
You got this whole organization, and I don't mean just the corporation or the company. I mean, you hear people talk, and you know where their level of intelligence and priorities are because of they don't talk like me. There's an elegance and a knowledge behind the knowledge, and I'm not just saying that, but that's what I want to know, and that's why I want to know it. And I hope I'm not digging too deep or being personal. Now, tell that story. Take your time, because I'm going to finish this text.
Okay. Yeah. So I started from a little girl. It was actually from my mom. From a 3-month-old baby, she got me into modeling, and I started doing modeling for photographic modeling, and it carried on for
at what time? Whoa! At what time did you say started?
At 3-month-old baby, I won my first.
3 months. 3 months.
3 months.
I thought you said 3 years.
3 months.
Okay, you know what? Fill every single crack in here, because there's a whole lot about you. I'm so freaking glad I asked that question. You're a model too, and at least till 13. I thought you said 10 years. I'm jumping back out, but fill all the cracks.
Yeah. So I did modeling, and then I had my own dance school from the age of 10, where I taught quite a number of kids. We represented South Africa.
All right. I'm gonna quit listening to you for a while, because every time
get your head out of the gutter.
What? No. Hey, come on. I'm not okay, but I'm not talking about that. Dance class, like jazz or what age?
Yeah. So at the time, I started with traditional dancing, so Indian dancing. And then it went to like very cultural. So in South Africa, because we are diverse in our culture, we had groups of people that you had to show what was the country about. And we would train groups of 200 people to literally have an entire production, and we would compete between different countries. That's what we did for many years, and we've won several awards and trophies. And from there, I went on. I did a lot of charity work, so I was in lots of orphanages where I was just surrounded by kids all the time, and that's where my liking and my development, my attachment for kids came in. So from there, I then went on to educating girls in Africa.
You're so
And
lazy. You're so
I am,
freaking lazy.
I am, and
Yeah.
all of this was
Is this all coming from your mom's influence or
yes,
you're both
yes.
their influence? All right, go on. You're blowing
So
my
my
mind.
mom was there cheering me on all the time, and it
Yeah,
was like,
that's
yes,
what's
yes,
important.
we need to go. And I got into this
In
girls
South Africa, that's a different thing too, right? I mean, America, we all say we're equal, and to a degree, but it's different in different parts of the world. So when your mom said we need a girl, that meant something.
Yes,
That's a big deal. You're swimming upstream while you're doing all this stuff you're talking about. And it was international, that dance team.
Yes. Yep.
I'm going to quit listening to you after a little bit. I put that text down there at the bottom. So go, just please. You have no issue with time, right? Because we're still like 20 questions behind. And I have to get to everybody because even if there's everybody left, because they'll actually get back and say, hey, how come you didn't answer my question? Because we get everybody. So we're gonna work with this.
I'm gonna rush my story so you could pop me the questions.
Yes, yeah. Well, no, we're fine. I think we're still good. But the closer we get to an hour, people are like, okay, I'm tired of hearing Rod. I'll catch him later. So we got to balance this stuff out. So go for it. And I'm going to talk to you about Brandon when we dial into that moment where it should be. Make sense?
Okay. Yeah. So after the dancing and after the modeling, I won several pageants, and it was I then did the Girls in Africa project, whereby I taught them how to cook, how to bake, how to create a veg garden, because it was just in rural communities and we needed to find ways to help them get money. All while I'm still in school, and my parents were very strict in the fact that if you didn't get an A+, there was something wrong with you. So you needed to make sure the grades were kept up to standard whilst you were doing all of these other activities. And whilst growing up, I had very minimal friends. And my mom always said, you know what, that's fine, because you don't need to worry if you can fit in with your friends because you're above the rest. And I never understood what that actually meant until later in my life. And it was like, you know what, I have these friendships, but they're just not going at the pace that I'm going. They're just not like, why are kids gossiping? Why is this? I got no time for that. So it got me out of that.
How much time do you spend on social media?
I actually do not even have a proper social media.
So you haven't seen this then, but I'm just going to add an explanation point to what you just said, and eventually I'm going to give back more time than that I'm taking, and we'll get to the Brandon point and still make it through. I know I can do this. So at the end of the day, I've seen the one of the best quotes or moments I've experienced, especially while doing the show, because you start widening your attention to things and the meanings that come out of those visions, those sights, those moments. But it's a camera angle right at this way older than you, like 40-ish, mid-ish area. This woman, she sits back as there's background noise of her friends. They're sitting in a round cafe table, and it says, and she just sits back and goes, I can't do it. But imagine she and you see on her face the moment she realizes that they're no longer her people.
Yeah.
The conversations are no longer the same. You've grown, and there's nothing wrong with that. But also, the point emphasizes that you just said your friends, you didn't understand them. You have moved. As you develop, your friends will change. And that's not a bad thing. It may be sad because there's some people you've known, especially at 15 age, 20, yeah, well, higher than that, but you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah. And that is
That
why
is
it's so
awesome.
important for a child to have a community of people who understand them, and they're in groups that are ahead
Good
of them,
point.
because
Good
that's
point.
how kids can excel. If they're in friendships that are a bit ahead of them, one step,
Yes.
that is all they need. They need someone that's
Yes.
one step ahead of them.
Yes.
And it's amazing. It's like when a child gets a textbook, the textbook is meant to teach the child, but if that child reads a chapter ahead,
Good point.
amazing.
Good point. I mean, that nailed the point. Absolutely. That's very cool. Okay. Because you're talking in the area, and I know you're getting further down the path, and I don't want to drag you all the way back to the when have the kid put down the iPad, and work on a business for a year. And this is a proud thing for me, for a bunch of reasons. And you'll know immediately, well, certainly some of them. But Brandon, my oldest son, he just had his, he did, but I was there, had his first daughter's, my second granddaughter, 1-year-old birthday. Okay. So he's here. This is where he is in life now, right? That was 3-4 months ago or something. But and there's a whole story about that because he's also a podcaster. And so I'm building towards something. When he was in high school, you're a parent or your father or your dad. I mean, those are your at that time in your life, you're raising the next generation. You know all about that, and you're taking that to the next level. And you've got more experiences. But this little tiny one is very cool. So at that time, we had this hallway, and the boys had their rooms, and then we're all the way at the end. And at times you'd walk by and you could hear this clicking. And then it got like there was multiple. And at one point I was in Brennan's room, and there's these computers firing off. And he he and I were gamers. I got him into it like at 5, and there was his brother, because we'd play those games. Cool, all awesome. But then he'd start playing these games till like 3 a.m. during high school. So okay, parent, right? All right, here's a moment I got to do that. But so I say, hey, look, dude, here's the thing. And you talked about keeping those grades while having a business, and that made me remember, because I made him a deal. Well, first of all, I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Playing video games all night? I mean, the iPad, set that shit down, especially at 3 a.m. when you got to be up in 3 hours. And it wasn't every night, but it was too much. So I asked him, I said, what are you doing? And then I said, I'll tell you. So he told me, look, I make a couple $100 a week doing this thing. I'm like, as a junior in high school, excuse me, I'm going to catch myself here. So he got, I don't know, there's different classrooms and different communities. And, that's been starting back in the gamer days. And so he would put groups together because people wanted him to run their character of whatever game it was. And he specialized in a couple, became very well known in his world that I had no idea existed. Hey, Dad, AI's here already. That was 20 years ago, my first experience. But what that son of a bitch did is I made him a deal. He's very smart, obviously, athletic. He loved athletics, our genes. But that son of a gun, he built that business all the way through, and it's the core of his business today, which is different revenue streams. He'd put bots in these things, build these things up, make $200-300 on a sale of one to some kid that probably went to his mom or dad, said, hey, I need a couple hundred. I guarantee you they didn't go out and say, I'm going to go mow some lawns. I need some money. They went to their parents. And my kid's like, oh yeah. He wasn't giving people tests. He wasn't doing, that, which smart people also do. I was fucking impressed because he made it all. And I'm sorry, I do cuss every once in a while. I know you're a lady, but I'm still going to cuss. Yeah, I'm still going to cuss. I just, every once in a while, I want to apologize to you because it makes me feel better. But so I made him, and if the grades aren't still at that level, the A's, he's a great student. He got, anyway, he not only did that, but he did well. And this is like junior year. And then I at times I almost wanted to ask him, can I borrow a few bucks? No, but I mean, I just wanted to get that story out because, that son of a gun, one of those entrepreneurs, I parented him. I was his dad. I was there. I wasn't perfect. All right. So but you look back at that and that's pretty damn impressive. And imagine what you're building in people. That is commonplace in your world.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
No, 100% right.
Yeah. I don't know if school, this is kind of political. You know what? The school system, well, first of all, it's all over the world. So it probably varies, but they're breaking down the American school system. Thank God. And changing it. Of course, it's all political. Everything that we want to improve in this country is political because there's power and money in the way it's running. That's period. That's not I got an opinion. It may have a chance here because there's some really smart people reorganizing so that there's money. We pay the highest per kid, and we're like, I think 40th country as far as education. And then they're on top of that, they're not prepared like what you're talking. Oh, I just put you can't see them. And now they're prepared. So that's closer to the European model, which I think falls short still. But I have friends that live in Greece now, came from Great Britain. In that system, you can at 15 decide to go one track or another, and including opting out. And he did. He's 15 and he runs a freaking business helping people automation, video and content. And he's 15. His brother's 19, started the company, and now he's broken into it. I mean, smart kid. So imagine you're opening up minds that didn't know even. You got to know. I don't know if you know. Thank you. We're starting to know. What about in different systems here?
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
So the thing is, we always say is, you know, as a parent, you don't know who to trust. There's so many scams out there. But the best person or the best place for a child to develop all of these skills is, number one, someone who has years and years of experience. Number two, someone who's explored with business, and someone that between all of whatever learning and education or practical experience you have is to pack it in such an easy way for a 3-year-old to understand. Because that is important with today's kids.
Like me.
Because they're spoon-fed. They're not street smart. They wouldn't know if my parent wasn't there. I don't know what I'm going to do. Mom, come save me. And that's where, you've got to believe in the shift for your child. You've got to see a vision and a future before your child sees it.
That makes sense. I mean, that makes perfect sense. That's crazy. Well, it's not crazy. It's just so simple that we're at a place in society that doesn't carry that. And it's natural that it should. And yet we don't. And it's because of the, I was going to say earlier, the pendulum, we all live in here. I mean, literally all over the world. I'm talking about America, but we all live in here. We're in the middle and lean a little bit on social issues here or financial issues here. All the actual people. and then right now, society by media and government is being driven by the very few that have all this radicalism. And you notice I didn't go one side, although they take their turns. And right now, one side is going freaking nuts. But the extremists are what our politicians and our media follow by. So this kind of stuff, I mean, this changes when you have a couple generations or even before in this mode. I do want to know, is there any school system? Because it's almost competing with a tradition. I don't know. Say that better than I'm trying to say it. Competing with the traditional.
We don't compete with traditional schools because we believe that schools are teaching kids how to just memorize phonics, memorize algebra. We teach.
I disagree with you. No. That's the old way of learning. You just said the word memorize. BS. I call BS on you right now. Not only you, by the way, we got 359 people on right now watching your gorgeous story be told across the world. And again, my mind is out of the gutter. Not all the time in my life. I'm sorry. I'm not toxic, but I am a male. Not doing that here. This is just such a great story that I get a little carried away. And how can that get integrated? Because you do compete at another level with any of the best school systems. And believe me, there's teachers and stuff and board of directors or school boards. And I don't know what they're called all over the world, but people have power in those things being a governmental thing. Now you're kind of, private schools to a lesser degree, because that's like buying a kid an education. I've done it. Kids get great grades, but that's something different. These new schools that are teaching kids in a new form, that's a bit of a competition. You see how they're getting punched all the time, every time they can. And then there's this, and this is all those guppies are not playing in your pool. And again, I'm just saying these words because it's so true, because there's such a need for change. And you're doing that. Can you get it integrated? Like what? No, I shouldn't say that. What do you got to fight against to even try and get something like that integrated in current circumstances, besides keep doing what you're doing? And then it's naturally, not success, but vibes and stuff like this attracts. And your marketing, we're talking, it's going out to a few people here and there, and then over the next whatever time. And so that message is growing. But where do we go? How can you is it a political fight? At this time it probably is, but what does that look like to you? Or do you even care about that? Integrating.
So to be honest with you, we honestly don't believe in just or going right now to go and
supplementing them.
Because personally, I feel if you believe in your child and you want to see a difference, you would understand what your child needs. I'm not going to come here. I'm not going to, fight you for this. I'm not here to sell you anything. I want to make an impact in the child's life, and based on our results and where kids are actually, and
there you go.
Don't take this the wrong way, but kids are making more money than their own parents in a job that they studied years for. And some of them now with the older siblings have gone to college, they've studied, they've got their degree, and there's no jobs. there's nothing for them to fall back on. And here's the little brother or the little sister having a
Yep.
full-on fledged business, making more money than the whole entire
Whoa.
household is bringing in. So that
Whoa.
is a different. And then again, the important thing is to make sure that kids, it doesn't go to their head, and we've got the correct structures in place to make
Those
sure.
psychiatrists or those,
Yes,
what'd you call
correct.
them? That's when I was messing with you about you have very slim resources.
Yeah.
Sarcasm, obviously. Go on. Yeah, that's a big
So
deal right there.
what we do is we don't just think, a business. We think of the entire
Exactly.
ecosystem that we're creating for a friendly environment for the child, for the family, and for everyone to live in harmony. Because when they sit at the dinner table, it's not like, oh, mom, I don't want to talk to you. Please get out of my room. I don't want to eat dinner with you. It's now we all at the dinner table.
Bam.
All are having conversation. They are talking about what new
Here or
project.
not here.
Correct. And it's not even a thing of, oh, I need to be on my phone the whole time. No. They understand family time is family time. There's discipline. And yeah, it's like we are a second parent to your child. So it's a safe, trusted zone.
It's the new technology. Trusted zone. Is that like a safe zone copycat
Yes,
or
kids love that.
improvement? This is what I don't remember the name, but whenever you see these coming out in the gallantry of young ladies coming out and doing all those things, they go through a prepping school.
Yes.
Learn how to do this, learn how to do that. And kind of we do that anyway in different things. But what you just said gave me this thought. And again, no mind in the gutter. Just because it's about girls, I just want to say it sounds like a prepping school here that you're talking. I mean, digital and beyond, because you're talking about instead of giving somebody a fish, like the Bible, you're teaching somebody to fish. Big difference. But then you're adding to that, on top of that, you're not forgetting about all the preparation, the prepping, the elegance of being comfortable in yourself, but also being led down that path so you could learn how to become comfortable with yourself, kind of like that coming out thing. I mean, not exactly the same, but does it give you an image of what I'm trying to say about a prep? Okay, good. Let's see what this one I've been waiting to talk about because it's so current and so many fears of people. And I'm sure questions you've had potentially, maybe not, because I assume this is like a VPN, like there's a direct connection. You're not just out in the anyway. This is a valid question for parents of kids. Damian Pro. See, I've told you I'm horrible at names, but I love them. I mean, that's a cool name. Come on. I don't know about the pro part. That sounds made up, but Damian, right? Sounds right. I don't have the accent, but how can kids market their business safely online?
Okay.
I added drama to that.
There is plenty of safe lines for kids to do that, depending on what product, what industry the child's business is in. But if they're in the cause, we've got plenty trusted sources, which we have gone through ourselves with our business.
Meaning, when you say that, meaning what? Trusted sources, meaning like websites, or what do you mean by that? Trusted sources. What does that mean?
So websites, payment gateways, funnels, in terms
do they
of
operate these? Do they get to a point? Oh my freaking Lord. Oh
Absolutely,
my, of course they do. This is like this part of what you're talking about now. And I'm going to give up on telling you I'm not going to steal your time because I can tell it's just going to keep happening. And we're getting better on questions. So, those cards, well, it's kind of gotten bigger and bigger, and it's probably because the credit card companies make a bank off of it. But you can start kids off with like a green card or something so they can pay some bills. I mean, that's cute. And that's, I mean, it's more benefit to the bank than it is to the kid. I imagine it kind of does the opposite of here's a card, pay your bills with it. Maybe every once in a while they'll put something on it. What you
No.
just described is that exactly.
Yeah.
Is that
So
on
kids-
steroids? Yeah, it's
It's-
bullshit.
If the business is in your home, they pay your rent, because in any business they're going to pay rent. There is
Yes, of course they do.
and we're teaching them.
And they can write that off. That's actually
Correct.
the legitimate way to do it,
Correct.
because home-based businesses, they can like write off 300%. I'm not at home, but write off a percentage of the office, like 300 square feet or something like of what they're making. So they'll learn. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay, go on. Sorry. Still
So
silly.
it's
That's
almost
awesome.
like they are getting all the knowledge from varsity, but just practical steps, easy practical steps. They don't need to, wait till they're 18 and then start getting this. We give them practical working steps to say, listen, we've tried and tested this. Go out now and just action. And they don't action it on their own. We've got team members that sit with them.
Yeah.
I sit with them. And then we sit with the parents as well, because, especially if they're stay-at-home moms, they're also, bored and they want something. So we just tag
True.
them along and we educate them, and they also are like,
Yeah, and they're also gaining additional skills because they're grown up. Well, okay, don't take this wrong. At stay-at-home moms, their life is there's some discomfort in that. There's a lot of enjoyment. It depends on the personality, but there's a lot of non-satisfaction in that. And I think that has also something to, because it became all of our goals to have, oh, my wife doesn't work, or that kind of thing going. It's kind of almost shifting. The other way around, my husband doesn't work. But that the point being is that this is creating something different here. And that's awesome, because I mean, every point, it's like it's not a balloon. You can't find a place to stick the little pin in. There's nothing going to pop here. And it's cool. I'd like to keep in touch. You're okay, right?
yes, I'm good.
We still got like a dozen more of these freaking people. Leave us alone. Me and my new friend here are having a conversation, folks, and you're kind of getting in the way of that. And you could tell because I'm ignoring you guys. So just
Shame.
behave, okay?
Shoot me the questions. It's fine.
Yeah, I want to get them before they get me. So all right, so we're here. No question in this one. Leah, film law. That's cool. It's obviously a lawyer or business entrepreneur of some sort thing going on there. At least that's the vibe I feel. This isn't a question. You read it, would you, please? Can you read? You're fine, right? You're young. You got eyes. Just this one. I'll read the rest.
So she says, great live session. Such incredible value shared. Thank you, Leila. Leah.
I made. Oh, see, I knew. Okay, Leia. Oh, ooh, that's an awesome freaking name, Leia. That's way better than I said. But I had you ask that because I didn't. I was going to try and steal the credit for her comment, and I had to hold myself back. So I made you bring that up, and I appreciate you doing that. It's keeping me safe, my reputation. Mac. I know Mac. I can do 3-4 letter names easy. Love the energy. Oh shit, you asshole.
Kayshree.
Why did you do that? Kayshree. You snuck that in on me. Oh my God, I didn't even read this. Love the energy, Kayshree. Love that name. Where can we find your curriculum? Oh, perfect timing, dude. I always have people, if you look to I don't know which way your screen's looking, but for me, I'm looking over here and there's the comments.
Mine is to the left.
And then, okay. You see there where it says private chat down next to all the people's comments, it's smaller, but right next to wherever that is against your computer screen. I'm saying that for a reason. I'm not just screwing with you, I promise.
Okay.
All right. So at the very top, it says comments and then banners, media assets, style, and then it says private chat. You can't, I don't know why, you can't put something into the comments like I did, right?
No,
There.
I cannot connect.
But you can put it into the private chat, which as soon as I see that little red dot, remember I said that's my favorite sound when you boop came on.
Yes.
You can't hear that, can you?
No, I couldn't hear it.
I say the only reason I say this because I know people can't hear it, and they're like, "What do you mean?" And so, anyway, kind of same thing here. Put that stuff in the private chat. I'll copy and paste it over here like I did here. While we're talking, you still got time, but I don't know how. Sounding like you can talk and type at the same
Yes,
time.
I can.
Okay, so I figured I'd get a head start on this. So Mac, Kayshree is typing in her information, all the content, whether it's website or email or
Okay.
whatever you want.
Let's
Because
do
here's why I do that. Oh, you already did it? Damn, you do everything.
That's the one.
Oh,
I'm going to send
okay.
you the
Go
rest.
ahead. Keep doing. Tell me when you're done. Because
Okay.
at the end of the day, somebody's good like this. What if we didn't see this until next week? So I love doing this, especially with your kind of topic, because I mean, look, this is like a third more than that of questions, because it's such a, as I'm not hiding anything. I can't hide things because it's so fascinating and important and interesting. If somebody came and look at that later, hey, where can I find your curriculum? They're going to leave a comment, unless you check this episode every day, which I doubt. And I'm going to have to try and figure, because I'm not the expert, you are. And so I just like to shove them, like I'm going to shove you into the green room a little later. I like to shove them over to you, because you're the smart one. I'm not. You're the expert, right? So it's just easier that way. I'm kind of lazy, and I like taking. I have enough to do already. So you all set there?
All good.
Okay, so I'm gonna do this. Great video. Oh, that's us. That's yeah. Okay, we can both say that. Adventures show. So this is probably a podcast thing, right? In business. Perfect. Because this leads to more businesses, small businesses, some that become Elon Musk. That dude is and I'm sorry, I don't want to
And
be
he's from
political,
South
but
Africa.
I know he is. That the most successful people in America have legally, no politics there, emigrated to this country, because they're people like you that take an additional. Now you have a different mission, but have an additional stuff, whatever these paved gold streets in America are. But that guy's done Starlink. Think about this. Just wrap your head around Starlink. He did PayPal. That's where he kind of started that next level, and of course Tesla and SpaceX. And he actually created Chat GPT because he wanted a free, like Tesla did with energy. I think it was kind of an ode thing. It's fun to listen to his mind by what he does. I mean, that's one man. I mean, yes, he's the wealthiest man in the world, or person in the world. Sorry, I didn't mean to be sexist, but think about that mind. That's why I get so fascinated by. Well, you can tell I get very fascinated by minds, and there's a lot of smart people all over the world. If we can just continue to do the things that you're doing, America won't be the only promise in the world, so to speak. Okay, I'm not being arrogant here, but the whole world will be a promise, because the whole world is creating that new system, that new economic power, that new stuff. And I hope every one of your kids come here if they're not already here, every single one of them, because we need this country to lead by example in certain areas that, and I think all that's starting to get cleaned up. So I'm excited about the timing of you actually came to me on this one, right? Yeah. Like a 24-hour turnaround. It was insane. I was like, so we moved a couple things over, and you popped, because I have like these buffers in between, because, well, here, great example. It's an hour show, and we're at an hour and 20 minutes. And you said you're okay on time, right? We're probably going to go at least an hour and 30, I'm guessing. And then I'll get your ass out of here. But right now, I want to talk about this, because I get some credit here. It's a great video. I'm taking some of that. Great mission. I can't take that. Damn it. Thank you for doing this live.
That's
Okay,
all you
I
need.
got two. I got 2 out of 3 on that. Okay, right. We said earlier, I just don't do this because I like to hear myself talk. I do this because it's a mission, and to hear that that's a great life, I'm taking it. Thank you for giving it to me. Also, all right, next. So how? Okay, here we go. Oh,
Oh
yeah,
wow, that's a
this
good
is
one.
that's an awesome one. And it's kind of into the vein of the one earlier, but better. Oh, sorry, whoever. I didn't mean that. And look at that's that adventure show again. They did 2 in a row here. So this is a podcast. So we talk what 363 people right now, and that's I said that a while ago. It's kind of level. So people are snapping. I don't know what that meant, but it came to mind, so I did it. How can schools get involved in this kind of movement? And that kind of that's the way the approach,
Yes.
because you said it isn't a school in that sense, but how do they get involved in the moment? Because there are things like that I mean, even what's the one school that is a learning center for their tests and all that, their whatever it's called. But how do they do that? How is that? Because let's get stuff, let's get boards to not be able to stick all this stuff in their pocket all across the world. How does that happen?
I think I'm gonna pop my email address and you can send me a direct email. I think that's gonna be a better way.
I'm glad you said that because I forgot about the thing. So we talk for a while. Would you? I'll even clip a couple along as you're doing that. And I'm gonna pop back out over and do actually what I said I was gonna do. So
Okay, so other things that we do with the kids
oh my God, you
is
can talk and type at the same time. I was testing.
I can. You didn't say I should type. So we host pitch days. And what that actually means is whatever business we've trained your child or helped your child start, they will now get to pitch it to different people and investors. So we don't leave your child high and dry. There's a full on thought process from start to finish to ensure that your child has a working business. So there's that. And
you know what you just sounded like? Have you ever been on there's one that's really good. I think it's an Apple product thing or something. But you're talking, no, it's the one I'm thinking of is actually a pizza place. And you give your order and then you answer it and you can hear this. Sounds like somebody's typing back there.
with my keyboard.
I know, it's cool. Show me your nails. You don't have long nails, do you? Or do you
No, I
type
don't. I'm
Oh,
not
no,
a Pinocchio. I don't
No, no.
lie.
Yeah, that's awesome because I love that sound, and the sound with nails going on it is like a chalkboard. Not quite that bad, but it's along that line. So I noticed that.
Lucky
Go
for
ahead.
me, I don't have long nails.
Perfect. So back to the actual question. How does schools get involved in that?
So I think for now, it's a conversation that we're going to have to talk about and come to some kind of an understanding, because I need to understand more in detail in terms of what are the age groups of the schools, how many kids are going to get involved, to what extent do we carry out the course. And then from there, we can take it and we can discuss options.
I told you, give me a little bit more time there, would you?
Oh,
I fell a
sorry.
little short. I left open air.
There's something called give me a heads up.
Yeah, that's true. And you know what? You're excellent because I love the flow of discussion, and then you don't have you make a host sound smarter and more capable of that because I can pick up on it. But I was sitting there reading something, then I realized, oh shit. Okay, and I jumped back on. What you just said made me think. The original was that I'm overthinking it. I have this issue. Producer Barbie and I talk about that. Am I overthinking this? A lot of times it's yeah. So it's like, okay, cool. But when you said what you just said, it got me fired up because I was thinking, remember I asked you earlier, you got to go through a political system and you got to go through, but I never thought about by the system. I mean, there's those kind of systems, there's those programs out there that literally work with schools to develop that system in their class. And I mean, to the point of videos, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's actually, the reason I say that is there's obviously still work. And how do we do that? Is there, I mean, is that the email? Oh, that's right. I got to do it again. You're making me work too hard. Would you not? I know I'm asking you to do that, but it's still, just ignore me on certain things, you know? But anyway, oh, I said that out loud, didn't I? I'm sorry.
Yes.
The
James asked, how do you introduce an 8-year-old to entrepreneurship?
wait, I just want to, okay, go ahead. You,
We do that.
wait,
Okay.
where are you? Wait, where are you? Are you trying to run the show now? We did
No,
not do that.
I just saw it. It just popped up.
Yeah,
There
yeah,
we go.
there we go. All right, let me get back to this.
Okay, so James, I'm not sure if the rest of the part is a surname, but again, look at what the kid is more drawn to.
It's another
And
podcast. It's another podcast.
is it?
You're talking, I don't know how, I actually know this podcast or know of
Oh,
them, similar like us. Go ahead.
okay. Yeah. So look at what your child is enjoying in terms of hobbies, what they're drawn to. Try different things. Maybe try one day stuff in the kitchen, stuff in the garden, and then just see what the child gravitates towards and encourage certain things. Bring up certain questions, just to ignite a conversation and ignite to see what direction can you take with your child. And then you come up with different things and you say to your child, if you're looking in the garden, what problems do they see? Or if they're in a school, what do they children in their class complain about? That could find a problem. For example, children complain that their bags are so messy. I use a typical thing. Okay, then create an organizer.
Oh, the backpacks. Gotcha.
Yes. So create an organizer.
They are
Or
messy.
so lunch boxes are boring. Okay, let me create something creative and I could sell it to parents to ensure that kids' lunch boxes are more exciting. A note, but like, a fancy creative note or something. You do not need to start with something massive, because right
Good
now
point.
kids are looking for something small. They're looking and how many kids are there in your area? That's where you need to start thinking and say, even if it's the smallest thing that costs you $1, how much does it cost you to make that? And would you be able to get a profit out of it? Even if you get a profit of 20 cents,
Wow.
it is
That's
still a
20%.
profit. And in that child's mind, because remember, if you are starting small, you're building a mindset and you're building what the child can achieve. What's the outcome? Once you
100%.
have that, you can, now introduce other topics. And that is very important. It's for the child to first understand that, look, I can make my first sale. And when I do that, that gives them unlimited confidence. And if they don't have the confidence, I always say to the kids that we program in the program, is if you don't have confidence, borrow mine until you get yours. So as a parent, it's your job to ensure that you give them that confidence. So allow them the safe space and say to them, they can use your confidence. They can, fall back on you to ensure this, but they need to go and find a solution. You can help, but don't do it for them, because that is an injustice to them.
That was a great full circle answer. The point that you started at and you brought it all the way through kind of hit with me because you said start with something like the lunchbox thing. You don't have to start, it's not a science fair. You don't have to make the most exotic. I mean, great if you can, but and the reason I thought about that, it kind of clicked, is that once you do something, no matter how simple, that's along a path, like once you create a company. I was talking to producer Barbie today because I've had a number of companies and, done some good things, not some good, but at the end of the day, that experience has led to right now. And some of the marketing and ideas and things are brought from those past experiences. So when you start it with a backpack or a this or that, and like you said, it doesn't really matter, and then build the next thing. It's because the next thing becomes, with experience, a little easier.
Yeah.
Or a little better, I think, is a better one. Businesses are never easy, but that's what you're building, is somebody that can handle something that is never easy, but be capable at it, and then profit.
Yeah.
Do you involve parents in training programs? We talked about this. Is there anything that Jennifer is saying here that you want to build on? Because it's about that. I mean, it's really, you're almost, no, not almost, you're training parents as well to the next, that support level, that lift level.
Yes.
But anything you want to build on what she says there? Jennifer, thank
So
you.
if Jennifer is talking about, a parent actually open their own, we do train you, because if your child is enrolled, then obviously all that material and the course is available to you. And I can assure you, we make it so simple for a child to understand. So any adult, this will be like 10 times the value.
Even me?
You would get.
Even me? Even me?
Even you.
Wow.
I always say, it's
Wow.
the decision. You must always make a decision. It doesn't matter whether you feel it's the wrong one or the right one. You must make the decision, because that's where it starts. So as a parent, you make a decision for your child because you want a better future. And if you strongly believe, then God and the universe will align everything else for you to happen.
Yeah.
But it starts with you. You've got to make that decision.
I'm going to add a little color between your layers there. Just a brushstroke. I would add to that, not making a decision is making a decision.
Correct.
And it's the worst possible one in the world, because it's an action of failure.
Yeah.
Whether your decision is wrong or right, I mean, as long within parameters, right? You're learning if it doesn't work out. And it's like that story of the boss where you have a learning experience or you have a reassurance. And I won't get into the whole story, but you get what I mean. It's an opportunity. When you don't make a decision, that's not making a decision. You're making a failure, right? A negative thing. You're creating something without even being known negative. And that's a twist that you're talking about there. That's very cool. How can we motivate kids? By the way, we're getting close. And take a look here before I let you go, which isn't right this second, but I hopefully I got everything right there. I didn't miss anything in cutting and pasting. Let me know if you want to change anything. But how can we motivate kids who aren't naturally driven? I think that kind of takes care of itself, doesn't it? Wherever you're starting them, you're building that into them, not because you're creating some magic, but it's human nature. The more comfortable you are with me. I wrote a poem once, and I write a lot of poetry. I have a whole thing. As this channel has a reflecting of yourself, and this is going to end in that. It's a self healing and a empowerment thing. And there's a string of poems, and one of them I'll just give you the who to love first, and it's about loving yourself. Right? It's actually very good. But yeah, I'm biased, but it's really good. But I can't love somebody else. I think we talked about earlier. I've done a lot of shows the last couple of days, so and reviewing and talking with Barbie, which isn't a complaint. This is fucking that was a little harsh.
Okay.
This is flipping. This is tubular. Back in my day, this is this is like playing a video game all day long. You know, I think I took the advice I gave to Brandon. I said, the only way you're going to be able to do this is if you can pay the bills, which people keep subscribing. We need to quit putting money into it instead of taking it out. I closed my business I wound it down over a couple of years, but so that part is coming from what everybody tells me. But at the end of the day, I turned that love of video games with my boys, and honestly, paintball. You know that, right? Or do you paintball? You ever played that over there?
Yes.
Paintball? Yeah. Okay.
Mark
So
everything afterwards.
oh, it's so, yeah, exactly. And you know what's really cool? When your boys are younger, you just kick their ass because you can sneak around. But then they get older, and
They
you're
kick your
okay.
ass.
Or, yeah, and with a little more energy too, because they remember me running behind them and shooting them on the ass across the way, just laughing my ass off as I was running. But that was like, I don't know, I was like 28. They were like 5 and 6. It was definitely a cheat, but I got my moment because I knew later on, just like in the video games, I used to be after them, knowing that pretty soon, but it happened earlier then, they were going to get back at me. So how do you motivate kids? We were talking about, but isn't this also a thing that it takes care of itself? I mean, if you're not motivated, like you're learning anything, and I started to let you read this, and I just took all the wind away. Then that takes care of itself, doesn't it?
So
Have you
I
seen that happen?
yes, it starts off
Okay.
like that. But remember, every child has a spark in them. It's you need to find the right tools to ignite it. Every child is born
Oh,
with an entrepreneurial spirit. There is not one single child that doesn't have a drive inside them. It just needs the right tools, the right people to ignite it. Every child is excited about something in their life. And that's the key thing. You know, we get kids that parents say to us, my child is glued. We cannot get through to them. They don't talk. It's almost like they're depressed about life. Not
they
even
are.
2 days with us. And I promise you, they see a different child.
Wow.
And that's why I'm saying it is so important to surround your child with the right community, with the right tools, with the right people to bring it out in your child. Because you as an adult, you also know, if you are surrounded by, someone that's better than you, someone that can, motivate you, and
Sure.
someone that is a positive influence on you, you feel different. You feel like you want to get up and, you're excited and you can do this. So just imagine kids.
Yeah.
Don't
Who are already that way.
Yeah, and don't put pressure on your kids. They will have it. Just place the right things in front of them, and you will see it naturally coming to them.
Oh my God. That was a perfect closing uh, wrap up, but I'm not going to let you use that because that was, I would, now you got to come up with a better one.
Oh,
I don't know how you're
okay.
going to do that. But the reason I say that is because Lynn here makes an excellent point here. I'm going to have you read this one because this is really tempting to take credit for. So please
Okay, I'll
read that,
go.
and then roll into a closing, and I get to make all sorts of compliments to you while you're in the green room and you can't argue back. And so I close up the show and so forth. I got everything here is right, correct?
Let me just have a look here quickly. Yes.
You know what I just realized? Remember earlier when I told you that I go off the stage because when I'm reading, I don't want people looking at my ear hole. Oh my God, that you could do that. You get away with that beautiful little earring, and I couldn't resist that. So at the end of the day, please read that and roll into your closing statement, and then the rest of life will happen for us. Stick around. I want to talk to you about a couple of things.
Okay. So Lynn says, this is live fire and we must keep it coming. Thank you, Lynn, so much.
Oh my God, you're an announcer.
I say that parents, you must make a decision, make the right decision for your kids, and remember, dream it, build it, and own it.
Wow. I cut you too soon. Wave bye to everybody. That's perfect. I have a video out that says your life is your story. You know, you're building it. Nobody can take it away from you. You know, go after it. Maybe I'll see where did we start talking? Maybe I'll put a link in your do we? Yeah, we met on Matchmaker FM. I'll put a link in there, and I think you'll like that a little bit. It's about the show, but it talks and it brings in my family. Own it. When you said own it, it is, you know, it says you design it. It's your, you know, people will doubt you, people will this, people will that, but it's your story. Nobody can take it away. And then it kind of rolls into the studio and says own it. It's freaking pretty cool. But I'll send you that. Why don't you wave bye to everybody as you say hi to all your fans, new fans.
And thank you so much.
I appreciate that. That was I told you guys I had a feeling about that episode, this episode, and I knew it was good, that feeling I had, because normally I get a little time to do some research and, you know, kind of I as you know, I do automation, so the ability to scrape information and all that is good, because it actually gives me the ability to have some moments of I knew that, and kind of take some credit for that, because that my automation allows me, and we get about that in the show with sales and hey, no, that wouldn't help you, but the thing that I'm getting at is shit. I just went through a whirlwind to pop in, because she was like, here, this is, and I know you got a lot of people that around the world that come onto your show and this and that. And she made such an amazing storyline down the, and I was like, oh, okay, I don't care. Well, where do you want to be? And she said, is tomorrow too early? I said, bam. Actually, she said, bam, we had moved that and she said, I hope tomorrow's not too early. I said, hell no, I want to get you in there, because it's a message that the world needs and is thirsty for. And it dials into all the things that we as a society need. And this is another level of empowerment. And like you said, Lynn, you know, we're going to keep it coming. It's a I use this word. I don't know if I'm just fixated on it or if it's really the best description. I believe that it is. Maybe I'm both. We're on a precipice, right? We're looking down. We're on a precipice. The world is about to dramatically, a little drug reference here, but because everybody knows this and it's powerful. It's like crack cocaine. You know, there's a point in that chemical process, whatever they do, where it cracks. And that's when it becomes a different thing, still built from the old, but that crack happens and it becomes something different, whatever that is. But it's a very famous battle that's gone on. I don't think it's bad anymore. I think it's more of a heroin or fentanyl thing now. But it describes that moment, that precipice that we're on, that are we going to crack? Is society not crack, but change and go to that next level? We're a human creature. We're made of nature. And, you know, we got ways to get there. And now we have, through these different formats, this one, you know, a bunch more popular. Yet, please, we want to get to 100,000 subscribers. That's the next goal. We're growing fast, 20 a day-ish. New subscribers, please subscribe and like. That was my sales pitch for this show. I think I've done it a couple of times for other shows. Hey, we still got a couple hundred people on here. Appreciate you guys bearing with me and letting us go through all this, because you know how important these messages are, especially to me, because I have a distinctive, unless you guys have, I would highly recommend this, by the way, because I watch these things over and over again. Plus I say them. And here's what's interesting. I always talk to producer Barbie about this. I never thought about this, but you know, I get a lot of information from our wonderful Kayshree, the expert. This information I'm hearing and I'm thinking about things and how. But you know what's really freaking cool, or maybe it's not. I don't know. But to me, it's cool. Then I go through a review. Well, Barbie and I go through a review process. I and my own and her, and then we meet up afterwards. What do you think? In that review process, I'm watching it like you guys are. I mean, same thing with Sharia Ben. I never thought about. I did it wrong, didn't I? Kayshree. Oh, man, I'm not saying your name anymore this show. I'm not saying it anymore because this show has just been like dinger after I don't know, you know baseball, dinger after dinger until I try and not stumble over that beautiful name of yours. Then it's a strikeout and a double play, and you're out, and you're run short. So I'm going to quit saying your freaking name. What else? Tomorrow we have the veterans, the VA thing. And I'm not saying their name properly right there because I'm just reminding you. Look up at our YouTube. Okay, I'm gonna chill. I told her that it's been a crazy day, and when I responded back to her, I said, "The time with you is going to be like my time. I can finally relax and just chill." That didn't happen. The message was way too good. But anyway, Insights and Straight Talk. I'm your producer, Rod Duff. I'm sorry, but it's not going to change anytime soon. And of course, you guys know producer Barbie, and you're going to get to see a little bit more of her in a second because I'm out.
Before you leave, if you'd like to watch another one of the podcasts, click the first link in the description. We love having you here, and we appreciate all your support.
And with that, producer Barbie and I are out.